What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of The Hated Truth. I'm the average guy, and here's my opinion. So today we're going to talk about the NFL and the Kaepernick effect. Colin Kaepernick, obviously, ex-quarterback in the NFL, took a knee in protest to various things, including police brutality, all equating to the inequalities towards blacks and minorities, to be exact. The one thing I hate, though, is whenever somebody talks about the inequalities towards black people, we do tend to forget about the other minority groups, especially Hispanic. They get the same treatment that we get for the most part. Now, just to kick it off, obviously Kaepernick took a knee. First, he was sitting down on the bench during the anthem. No one paid attention. No one cared. Why? Because when the anthem is playing at your house and you're watching football, and you're going through your daily routine of getting ready for an awesome game, hopefully, you don't stand for the national anthem. You don't have your hand over your heart for the national anthem. Most of you don't sing along or show any quote-unquote respect to the anthem. That's why when he was sitting down on the oak, no one had any opinion. It was only until Kaepernick spoke to, people that he know in the military that told him how to properly protest the anthem without disrespecting the troops, without disrespecting what their lives at the cost of many, the ultimate sacrifice. So when we talk about the Kaepernick effect in the NFL, we need to be real careful on what 2 points we're trying to make. The first point being Kaepernick clearly drew no attention from sitting on the oak during the first couple games that he set out the national anthem. Therefore, whoever you are that has a problem with his protest, had no problem with his protest. Second point, him taking a knee was in reverence, showing respect to the soldiers. It was him trying to do the most while still being respectful. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to talk about police brutality and some of the inequalities towards blacks. And this is going to be a real short podcast. We're usually going to try and keep this thing at around 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes at the most. It's just a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of my own personal opinion, being a black man in America. I'm a young black man in America who loves his country and who's always been patriotic. I've had family who've died overseas. So getting right into it, police brutality. For the ones who say that blacks are not treated unequally or unjust or unfair by the police, when you look at the numbers of unarmed black men who are gunned down by the different police departments in different states and counties, just real quick, I'm gonna go over just a brief list of a handful of the ones since about 2014. Most of these people you don't even know. You've never even heard their story, never heard their name. Some you have because the cases have become this public spectacle of sorts. The first, Dontre Hamilton. That was out of Milwaukee. That was in 2004 in April. Then you have, obviously, the high-profile Eric Gardner case in New York City in July of 2014. Then you have John Crawford III in Dayton, Ohio, on August the 5th, 2014. Michael Brown Jr. in Ferguson, Missouri, another high-profile case in August 9th, 2014. You have Ezell Ford out in Florence, California, August 11th, 2014. Dante Parker in Victorville, California, August 12th, 2014. Now, mind you, these so far have all been in 2014 within a span of a few months. It's not all just black men. There's also black women. Now, granted, black women in America have their own inequalities and their own, fences they have to climb to try and do better for their families. But there's Tanisha Anderson out in Cleveland, November 13th, 2014. Unarmed, gunned down. Reports was that she had bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. But our police departments, they're not trained to handle, mental disorders and mental illness of, the community they serve. There's a video going around on YouTube or on Facebook. There's a white male, looks to be in about maybe early teens, somewhere around 12 or 14. And he clearly has autism. And anyone who knows anyone with autism or ever done some study or is just aware of autism know the warning signs of somebody who possibly have autism. And I'm not talking about the Hollywood stereotypical, ticks and tweaks of a person with autism. I'm talking about the real, genuine movements and motions and gestures of a person with autism. The cop approached this man or this child and unjustly was forceful with this kid. And in the video, you can clearly hear the child with autism. You could clearly see from the body cam of the police officer the actions that he was taking upon this child. When the kid was on the ground, my heart broke for him, not just him being a child or him being a person with autism, but my heart broke for him because he had no real understanding of what was going on. He had no real understanding from what I could perceive of why he was being treated like this. It wasn't until a guardian, possibly his mother, came up and explained to the cop he has autism. That's why he's moving his arms like that. That's why he's twitching his fingers in a certain way. That's why he's acting in this manner. The officer assumed that the boy was on drugs, that the boy possibly had weapons on him, that he was a danger to the officer or the public. Mind you, the boy was just standing on the sidewalk, minding his own business, not bothering anyone. The sad thing about this is, in 2017, a professional peace officer has so little understanding about the people that they're supposed to protect and serve and the conditions that they do go through on a normal basis. Now, you can say, oh, that's a 1 in a million case. The kid had autism. It's not that serious. The cop made a mistake. That's nice. But you have to factor in the amount of people with autism in this world and the varying levels of autism. When you boil down bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, all these different mental illnesses that causes people to react or act a certain kind of way, the police use these things to justify lethal force. Mind you, police officers were issued tasers that could drop a grown man in a few seconds or in a second. But they're rarely used in these, instances of police brutality using lethal force. There was a video that was going around on Facebook as well. The man looked to be Hispanic or Caucasian. They were looking to be outside of a 7-Eleven or a like gas station or a storefront. And there was a tussle between the cop and the man. The cop backs up about 5 feet. The man's still up on the curb. The cop is now down in the parking lot in between cars. The man bends over and picks up an ammunition clip that dropped off of the officer's belt. When he dug down to pick up that ammunition clip, he was shot. And I've seen the video a little bit ago, but from my remembrance, it was about 5 to 7 shots. One shot being after he was already falling. Then the man obviously stumbles back and he dies. An ammunition clip does not hurt anyone. A plastic and metal holder with metal bullets cannot do harm to anyone. He could have thrown that at the officer and done absolutely zero damage under most situations. Why wasn't the taser deployed in that situation? We do not know mentally where that man was at. We do not know the thought processes that was going on in that man's head. If he was suicidal, if he had schizophrenia, if he had autism. There are autisms in this world that affect people on a daily basis that make them damn near 100%. And what I mean by that is there's autisms that don't really affect them in the way that you think autism would affect them. They're functional on a day-to-day basis, almost at 100%. Normality, whatever you describe normality to be. But our officers aren't trained in looking at the warning signs. They're not trained in saving the life first. They're trained in not just shooting to incapacitate, but shooting to kill. I have seen very few videos of an officer pulling his weapon, having to use that weapon just to maim or incapacitate a subject. Whenever a video is released, the officer becomes trigger happy. And from my understanding, they're trained to neutralize the threat, which means lethal force. So getting back to my original point when it comes to blacks and police brutality, the reason why I mentioned that video earlier of the Caucasian boy that was standing on the curb with autism and how rough and unjust that officer was with him. At that point, that boy had no idea what was going on, no reason, no understanding of why he was being treated like that. And all the names I just read in the beginning of the video, at one point or another, had that same feeling, that same thought, that same lack of understanding on why they were being treated with such force. Now, mind you, there are some cases where some of the unarmed black men and women who were shot down were being overly aggressive with the officer, were not obeying commands. But when you watch the dash cam videos, when you watch the body cam videos, there's always a way for the officer not to have to use deadly force. In some cases, a shot is necessary. If a perpetrator has a gun and that gun is drawn, or that gun and the perpetrator is not obeying authority, he's not obeying the officer's commands to drop the weapon and not reach for the weapon. If an officer comes up to you and you have a pistol on you, and the officer can see it, or you told him you have the pistol, at that point, you should keep your hands away from the pistol in one position on top of your head. That's it. That's the way you should act when you have a pistol and you're dealing with a police officer. So not every single case is the same. Not every single case merits the same level of understanding and compassion that I'm speaking now. This is mainly for the ones that when you watch the body cam videos, you can clearly see the injustice done. Why didn't the officers use the tasers in those instances?